He was presumed dead, but he returned with a family from another world.
Starfall, the Hermes 2 cut through the silence of space, its ion engines humming softly as Commander Maya Chen gazed through the viewport at the swirling anomaly. Jupiter loomed massive in the background, its stormy surface a chaotic canvas of amber and cream. The mission was simple on paper. Investigate the strange energy reading that had appeared near Jupiter's orbit 3 months ago. Primary sensors are going haywire, reported flight engineer Sanjay Patel, his fingers dancing across the console. Whatever this thing is, it's not in any of our databases. Maya nodded, her almond eyes narrowed in concentration. At 34, she was the youngest mission commander in NASA's history, renowned for her calm under pressure and brilliant problem-solving. Let's move in closer, Quarter Impulse. Elijah, what's your analysis? Dr. Elijah Santos looked up from his instruments, his normally jovial face creased with worry. It's some kind of space-time distortion, Maya. The readings suggest it might be a gateway. A gateway to where? She asked, but before Elijah could answer, the anomaly pulsed, expanding rapidly toward the ship. Evasive maneuvers, Maya shouted, but it was too late. The Hermes the Sing shuddered as energy tendrils wrapped around its hull. Warning klaxons blared throughout the vessel. We're being pulled in, Sanjay yelled over the cacophony. Maya felt the ship breaking apart around her. In a split-second decision, she launched herself toward the escape pod. The last thing she heard was Elijah screaming her name before darkness claimed her. When Maya awoke, she was lying on something soft and iridescent, like moss made of light. The air felt thick but breathable, tinged with a sweet scent reminiscent of jasmine. Above her stretched a lavender sky, illuminated by twin suns that cast everything in a perpetual twilight glow. Where am I? She whispered, trying to sit up. Pain lanced through her ribs. Rest, came a melodious voice beside her. Your body needs healing. Maya turned her head to see a tall, slender figure kneeling beside her. His skin was a deep purple with subtle luminescent patterns that shifted with his movements. His features were humanoid but with more pronounced cheekbones and large expressive eyes that shimmered like opals. Who are you? Maya managed, fighting against rising panic. I am Tarek, he replied, his voice carrying a musical quality that seemed to resonate in the air. You are on Lumina, home of the Vahari. Your vessel emerged from the gateway and shattered. We found you among the wreckage. Days turned to weeks as Maya recovered under Tarek's care. She learned that the Vahari were a peaceful species with an advanced understanding of energy and biology, but little interest in space travel. The gateway was a natural phenomenon they had studied for generations, a cosmic bridge that appeared cyclically between worlds. As her strength returned, Maya joined Tarek in his daily routines. He was a knowledge keeper for his community, responsible for documenting natural phenomena and maintaining historical records. Maya's scientific background fascinated him, and they spent hours exchanging information about their respective worlds. Your mathematics is beautiful, Tarek told her one evening as they sat beneath a canopy of bioluminescent plants that lit up the Luminon night. It speaks the same truths our ancestors discovered, but through different symbols. Maya smiled, watching how the gentle light played across his features. Science is the universal language, I guess. Their intellectual connection deepened into something more profound as the seasons changed on Lumina. Maya realized with startling clarity one day that she no longer thought constantly of returning home. Instead, she found herself drawn to Tarek's gentle wisdom and quiet strength. Their first kiss happened during a festival celebrating the alignment of Lumina's moons. The community gathered on a crystal plateau, where the resonant energies made the very air shimmer with music. In this moment, all possibilities exist, Tarek whispered, taking Maya's hands in his. His touch sent warmth cascading through her. Including us. Maya leaned forward, closing the distance between their worlds. His lips were warm and tasted faintly of the sweet fruit they had shared earlier. As they embraced, the bioluminescent patterns on his skin brightened, responding to his emotions. Their relationship flourished in the following months. Maya integrated herself into Vahari society, learning their language and customs while teaching them about Earth. When she discovered she was pregnant, the news brought both joy and uncertainty. Will they be healthy? She asked the Vahari healer, anxiety evident in her voice. The healer, an ancient female named Selene, placed gentle hands on Maya's growing belly. They carry the strength of two worlds, she assured her. Different, yes, but whole in their uniqueness. When the twins were born, they were perfect miracles of interspecies genetics. Nova, their daughter, had Maya's delicate features but Tarek's opalescent eyes and subtle luminescent patterns across her olive skin. Orion, their son, inherited Maya's dark curls and Tarek's height, with fingertips that glowed softly when he was content. As Maya cradled her children beneath the lavender skies of her new home, she thought of Earth, distant now in more ways than light years. She had found something precious on this strange world, not just survival but love, family, and belonging that transcended the boundaries of species and space. "They are beautiful," Tarek murmured, his arm encircling Maya's shoulders as they gazed at their sleeping children. Like stars born from the collision of two galaxies, Maya leaned into his embrace, feeling complete in ways she never had on Earth. "Two worlds," she whispered, "becoming one." Ripples across time 7 years passed on Earth, where Dr. Elijah Santos stood before a wall of monitors at NASA's Deep Space Communications Complex. His once neatly trimmed beard had grown wild, matching the intensity in his eyes as he studied the anomalous readings. Though everyone else had given up, he remained convinced that Maya Chen was still alive somewhere beyond the Jupiter anomaly. "Dr. Santos, you requested to see me?" Director Amara Washington's voice cut through his concentration. Her authoritative presence filled the room instantly. "Look at these readings," Elijah said without preamble, pointing to energy signatures on the main display. "They match the patterns we recorded just before the Hermes 2 was lost. The gateway is active again." Director Washington sighed, the weight of years of failed searches evident in her expression. "Elijah, we've been through this. The board officially declared Commander Chen dead 3 years ago. We need to—" "With all due respect," Elijah interrupted, his voice rising, "these readings are identical. Something's coming through and I think it might be her." After heated debate, Director Washington reluctantly authorized a small observation mission, more to provide closure for Elijah than from any real hope of finding Maya. As preparations began, Elijah couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Meanwhile, on Lumina, Maya stood at the edge of a crystal cliff overlooking the valley where she had made her home for 7 years. The twin suns cast long shadows across the landscape, signaling evening's approach. Behind her, 6-year-old Nova and Orion played among the light flowers, their laughter carrying on the breeze. "You're thinking of Earth again," Tarek said softly, joining her at the cliff's edge. Time had only strengthened their bond, his presence a constant comfort through the years. Maya nodded, unconsciously touching the worn NASA patch on her adapted Vihari clothing. "The gateway cycle is returning. The elders confirmed it yesterday." Tarek's luminescent patterns dimmed slightly, reflecting his concern. "You wish to return?" "Not alone," Maya said, turning to face him. She took his hands in hers, marveling at how natural his touch felt now. "But the children, they're getting older, asking questions about my world, and I've been monitoring their physiology. Their human aspects are becoming more dominant as they grow. They might struggle here long term." That night, after putting the twins to bed in their dwelling carved into the living crystal formations of the valley wall, Maya and Tarek made love with a desperate intensity. Their bodies moved together in perfect harmony, illuminated by the soft glow of Tarek's skin patterns that brightened with his passion. Maya traced her fingers along the luminescent swirls on his chest, memorizing every detail. "I'll follow you across universes," Tarek whispered against her neck, his breath warm and sweet. "Whatever you decide." The decision was ultimately made when Nova developed respiratory difficulties that the Vihari healers couldn't fully address. Earth's atmosphere, Maya realized, might be better suited to the children's increasingly human-dominant physiology. The preparations happened quickly. The Luminan Council, respecting Maya's contributions to their society, provided rare energy crystals to help stabilize the journey. As the gateway cycle reached its peak, the family said tearful goodbyes to the community that had embraced them. "Remember," Celine the healer told the children, placing protective amulets around their necks, "you carry the light of Lumina within you, always." The gateway manifested as a swirling vortex of purple-blue energy, pulsing with cosmic power. Maya clutched her children's hands tightly while Tarek carried a small vessel, containing essential minerals the twins would need on Earth. With one last look at the world that had become their sanctuary, they stepped into the unknown. On Earth, alarms blared throughout the NASA complex as the Jupiter anomaly flared with unprecedented energy. "Something's coming through," shouted Anna Kapoor, the lead scientist monitoring the situation. 4 distinct biological signatures. Elijah's heart pounded as he rushed to the observatory deck. Against all odds and reason, he had never stopped believing. As the anomaly's energy dissipated, a small craft of unknown design drifted into view of Earth's orbital sensors. "Open a channel," Elijah demanded, his voice trembling with anticipation. When Maya's voice crackled through the speakers, tears streamed freely down his weathered face. "This is Commander Maya Chen of the Hermes 2, requesting permission to come home. I'm not alone." Threshold. The landing area at Edwards Air Force Base had been transformed into a high-security containment zone overnight. Medical tents, scientific equipment, and military personnel created a perimeter around the projected touchdown site. Dr. Elijah Santos paced nervously near the central medical unit, ignoring the desert heat approaching. "Atmospheric entry," announced a technician. Over the comm system, the small vessel, partly constructed from Hermes Aku wreckage and enhanced with Lumina technology, blazed across the morning sky like a purple-tinged meteor. Inside, Maya held her children close as Tarek navigated the difficult descent, his hands moving gracefully over controls that responded to both touch and thought. "Remember what we practiced," Maya told the twins, forcing confidence into her voice despite her own anxiety. "Earth's gravity will feel heavy at first, and the sunlight will seem harsh. Just stay close to me." Nova nodded solemnly, her opalescent eyes wide with apprehension. At 6 years old, she had inherited Maya's analytical mind alongside Tarek's intuitive connection to energy fields. Beside her, Orion squeezed his mother's hand, his fingertips glowing faintly with nervous energy. "We're ready, Mother," he said with determination beyond his years. The landing was rougher than anticipated, the craft skidding across the designated zone before coming to a halt in a cloud of desert dust. For a moment, silence filled the vessel as the family gathered their courage. "Together," Tarek said simply, reaching for Maya's hand. The love that had sustained them across the cosmos now fortified them for what lay ahead. As the hatch opened, Maya was the first to emerge, blinking in the bright sunlight of her home world. The sensation of Earth's stronger gravity pulled at her muscles, nearly forgotten after years on Lumina. A line of figures in hazmat suits stood at a distance, weapons visible but lowered. "Maya?" Elijah's voice came through a speaker system. He stood behind a protective barrier, disbelief and joy warring on his face. "Elijah," she called back, her voice catching. "It's really me." Then Tarek emerged, his tall purple form causing visible shock among the assembled personnel. Murmurs and gasps rippled through the crowd, several weapons raised instinctively before being lowered at a sharp command from Director Washington. Last came the children, their unique appearances drawing even stronger reactions. Nova's skin shimmered subtly in the sunlight, while Orion's height already matched that of an Earth 10-year-old despite being only 6. "My God," whispered Director Washington, watching through binoculars from the command post. "She has children with it." The family was quickly ushered into medical isolation, where a team of scientists and doctors in protective gear began a battery of tests and examinations. Maya answered endless questions about Lumina, the Gateway, and the Vihari, while Tarek submitted patiently to scans and samples, his dignified calm unshaken despite the clinical treatment. The children, however, struggled with the harsh lighting and the heaviness of Earth's atmosphere. Nova developed a rash across her luminescent skin patterns, while Orion became lethargic under the strain of the increased gravity. "They need the minerals we brought," Tarek insisted when Orion's breathing became labored. "Their hybrid physiology requires elements from both worlds." The medical team reluctantly allowed him to administer the luminin compounds, which quickly stabilized the children's conditions. As the scientists observed the remarkable recovery, their perspective shifted from fear to fascination. That evening, after the initial frenzy of tests subsided, Elijah was finally permitted to enter the quarantine area. He approached Maya cautiously as if she might disappear at any moment. 7 years, he said, voice thick with emotion. "I never stopped looking." Maya embraced her old friend, tears flowing freely. I knew if anyone would keep faith, it would be you. Their reunion was interrupted by a commotion as a team of government officials arrived, led by General Marcus Harding of Homeland Security. Commander Chen, he said briskly, though his eyes remained fixed on Tarek. Your return raises significant questions of national security. This individual and these children must remain in containment until we determine they pose no threat. Maya stepped protectively in front of her family. General, my husband and children are not threats. They're refugees from a peaceful civilization. The Vihari have technology and knowledge that could benefit humanity immensely. Husband? The word rippled through the room, changing the atmosphere instantly. Later that night, when the facility had quieted, Maya found a moment alone with Tarek in their assigned quarters. The children slept fitfully nearby, adjusting to Earth's rhythm. They fear us, Tarek observed, his luminescence dimmed to a soft glow in the darkened room. Your people see difference and immediately suspect danger. Maya sighed, leaning into his embrace. Not all of them. Elijah sees what I see in you. Others will too, given time. Tarek gently tilted her chin up, his opalescent eyes searching hers. Do you regret returning? Instead of answering with words, Maya pressed her lips to his. Their kiss deepened with 7 years of shared life, transcending the barriers of species and worlds. His skin brightened with passion as their bodies pressed together, finding comfort in their connection amid the uncertainty. Never, she whispered against his mouth. You and the children are my home, whatever planet we're on. Outside their room, unseen security cameras recorded their every move. In a monitoring station across the complex, General Harding watched the intimate moment with narrowed eyes. I want everything we have on interspecies contamination protocols, he ordered a subordinate, and get me access to those children's DNA reports. Nearby, Elijah also observed the surveillance feeds, but with a very different reaction. Seeing the genuine love between Maya and Tarek, he made a decision that would change everything. Time to choose sides, he murmured to himself, beginning to type an encrypted message to Director Washington, and I know which one I'm on. Fracture points, 3 weeks into their quarantine at the Edwards facility, the tension surrounding Maya's family reached a breaking point. What had begun as scientific curiosity had evolved into something darker as various government agencies vied for control over the alien situation. Nova sat cross-legged on her bed, eyes closed in concentration as tiny motes of purple light danced above her fingertips. At 6 years old, her control over luminant energy was already remarkable. Across the room, Orion pressed his palms against the reinforced window, staring longingly at the desert beyond their confinement. When can we go outside, Mother? He asked for perhaps the 100th time. I want to feel real wind, not just air conditioning. Maya looked up from the tablet where she'd been documenting Luminan cultural practices for Elijah's research team. The dark circles under her eyes revealed her exhaustion. Soon, I hope. Dr. Santos is working on getting us clearance for supervised outdoor time. Tarek entered from the adjoining room where he'd been subjected to another round of physiological tests. Though he maintained his dignified demeanor, Maya could read the weariness in the dimmed patterns of his skin. They took more samples today, he said quietly, sitting beside her. They seem particularly interested in how my cellular structure adapts to Earth's atmosphere. Maya took his hand, noting how the guards at the door tensed at their contact. Such reactions had become commonplace, a constant reminder that to many humans, their relationship was viewed as something between scientific curiosity and abomination. This isn't what I wanted for us, she whispered, resting her head against his shoulder. That evening, Director Washington called an emergency meeting of the project leadership. Elijah arrived to find General Harding already there, accompanied by representatives from the CDC, DARPA, and several intelligence agencies. The children's DNA analysis shows concerning developments, announced Dr. Vivian Mercer, the lead geneticist. Her clinical tone couldn't disguise her excitement. The hybrid genome is not static. It's adapting, becoming more stable with each cellular regeneration cycle. If we could isolate the mechanism, we could revolutionize human medical science, interrupted a DARPA scientist, eyes gleaming with possibilities. General Harding cleared his throat. Let's be clear about priorities. These beings represent unknown capabilities that could pose significant threats to national security. The male alien in particular, his name is Tarek, Elijah cut in sharply. And he's shown nothing but cooperation despite being treated like a lab specimen. Regardless, Harding continued, I've received authorization to transfer the family to our specialized facility in Nevada for more comprehensive study. Director Washington frowned. They're not prisoners, General. Commander Chen is an American hero who's returned home. With an alien husband and hybrid children who demonstrate unexplained energy manipulation abilities, Harding countered. The transfer happens tomorrow. That's final. After the meeting, Elijah pulled Director Washington aside. This is wrong, Amara, you know it is. She glanced around before responding quietly. I received your data packet. If what you've documented about Luminant energy technology is accurate, I understand why everyone wants control of this situation. She paused, her expression troubled. Do you trust Maya's family truly? With my life, Elijah replied without hesitation. And if we let Harding take them, we'll never see them again. Later that night, as Maya helped the twins prepare for bed, an alarm suddenly blared throughout the facility. Red emergency lights bathed their quarters. Security breach in Sector 7, announced the overhead system. All personnel implement containment protocol. Moments later, their door burst open. A group of masked figures in tactical gear swarmed in, weapons raised. Targets acquired, one of them said into a radio. Proceeding with extraction. Tarek moved with unexpected speed, placing himself between the intruders and his family. His skin blazed with protective luminescence, casting harsh shadows across the room. You will not touch my children, he said. His musical voice hardened with resolve. The lead intruder hesitated, clearly surprised by Tarek's defensive stance. We have orders to... The confrontation was interrupted as Elijah and a security team rushed in from another entrance. Gunfire erupted, sending Maya and the children diving for cover behind a biocontainment unit. In the chaos, one of the masked intruders grabbed Nova, who screamed in terror. Nova! Maya lunged forward but was restrained by another attacker. What happened next would later be described in classified reports as an extraterrestrial defensive response. Orion, seeing his sister in danger, unleashed a burst of pure luminant energy that knocked everyone in the room off their feet. The lights flickered and died, plunging the facility into darkness broken only by the glow of Tarek and the children's luminescent patterns. When emergency power activated minutes later, Maya found herself holding Nova tightly while Tarek sheltered Orion. The attackers lay unconscious around them, and Elijah was helping his security team to their feet. These aren't our people, one of the guards said, removing a mask from an unconscious attacker. Private contractors. Someone wanted your family badly enough to raid a government facility. Maya looked at Tarek, a silent understanding passing between them. Their worst fears were confirmed. Earth would never simply allow them to live in peace. Someone would always want to study them, exploit them, or worse. We can't stay here, she said quietly. Elijah nodded grimly. I know. And after this, Harding will lock you away forever. He hesitated, then made his decision. I have a plan, but we need to move now. As they hurried through darkened corridors, Maya felt Tarek's hand in hers, steady and sure despite everything. Ahead of them, the children moved with surprising resilience, Nova's small hand glowing softly to light their way. Where are we going? Orion asked as Elijah led them toward a service elevator. To people who will see you for who you are, Elijah replied, not what they can take from you. In the distance, more alarms began to sound. Convergence dawn broke over the mountains of New Zealand's South Island, bathing the Aoraki International Research Station in golden light. Nestled in a remote valley and protected by both geographical isolation and diplomatic immunity, the station represented humanity's most progressive approach to scientific discovery, collaborative, ethical, and independent from any single government. 6 months had passed since the chaotic night at Edwards. Maya stood on the observation deck of the family's private quarters, watching Nova and Orion play in the meadow below with other children from the international community. The twins had adapted remarkably to Earth life, their hybrid physiologies stabilizing with proper care and nutrition. Though they still required regular supplements derived from the luminin crystals they'd brought, Dr. Kumi Tanaka, the station's xenobiologist, had successfully synthesized alternatives that would sustain them indefinitely. They seem happy, Tarek said, joining Maya at the railing. The morning light caught the subtle luminescence of his skin, which had grown less pronounced during their time on Earth, an adaptation that made him less conspicuous among humans, though no less extraordinary to Maya's eyes. "They are?" she agreed, leaning into his embrace. "So am I." Their escape from Edwards had become the stuff of legend among certain scientific circles. How Elijah Santos had risked everything to smuggle them out using an experimental aircraft, how Director Washington had accidentally delayed the pursuit, and how the international scientific community had rallied to offer them sanctuary, once news of their existence leaked through unofficial channels. General Harding and his allies had been furious, of course. The diplomatic fallout had been significant, with the American government officially denying the existence of extraterrestrial refugees, while simultaneously demanding their return as subjects of national interest. But with multiple nations recognizing the family's refugee status, and the United Nations establishing a special committee on extraterrestrial relations, the pressure had eventually subsided into an uneasy stalemate. Inside the research facility, Dr. Elena Rodriguez approached with a tablet displaying the latest results from the energy transfer experiments. As the lead physicist at Ioraki, she had been working closely with Tarek to understand Luminan energy technology. "The prototype is functioning beyond our expectations," she announced excitedly. "The principles Tarek shared about resonant energy fields have implications far beyond what we imagined. If we can scale this, it could revolutionize clean energy production worldwide." Maya smiled, remembering how skeptical Elena had been initially. Now she was Tarek's most enthusiastic collaborator and a fierce advocate for the family's protection. Later that afternoon, as Maya taught an advanced astrophysics seminar to graduate students from around the world, she caught sight of Elijah entering the back of the lecture hall. His sacrifice had not gone unpunished. Stripped of his NASA credentials and briefly imprisoned before being released under international pressure, he had eventually accepted a research position at Ioraki. The cost had been high, but as he often said, some principles are worth the price. That evening, the family hosted a small dinner gathering in their quarters, which had been designed to accommodate both human comfort and Luminan environmental preferences. The lighting could shift to the lavender spectrum that soothed Tarek and the children, while special materials in the walls simulated the energy-conductive properties of Luminan crystal dwellings. Elijah raised his glass in a toast, "To bridges between worlds." "And to those brave enough to cross them," added Dr. Tanaka. As conversations flowed around the table, Maya watched her children interacting confidently with their human friends. Nova was explaining Luminan mathematics to Elena's daughter with passionate gestures, while Orion demonstrated a small energy manipulation technique to an enraptured audience of young researchers. "They're becoming ambassadors in their own right," Tarek observed quietly. Maya nodded, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment. What had begun as her personal journey had expanded into something with the potential to transform human understanding of the cosmos. After their guests departed and the children were asleep, Maya and Tarek stepped outside into the clear night. The stars shone brilliantly above the research station, reminiscent in some ways of Lumina's twilight sky. "Do you ever regret it?" Maya asked suddenly. "Coming here, facing all this uncertainty when you had a peaceful life on Lumina?" Tarek considered the question, his opalescent eyes reflecting the starlight. The Vihari have a saying, "The universe does not make mistakes in its connections." Our meeting across impossible distances was no accident, Maya. He drew her into his arms, his touch as electrifying as it had been the first time. Their lips met in a kiss that carried 7 years of shared joys and struggles, of building a life between worlds. Besides, he added with a smile that illuminated his features, there is more work to be done. They both gazed upward at the distant stars. Somewhere beyond Jupiter, the gateway would cycle open again eventually, and when it did, they would be ready with a proper expedition, not to conquer or exploit, but to connect, to learn, to expand the circle of understanding. In the nursery, Nova stirred in her sleep, her dreams filled with images of two worlds in harmony. Her small fingers glowed softly, creating patterns in the darkness that mirrored the constellations above. New configurations that had never existed before, born from the union of two different skies. And in that moment, across the sleeping station, across the watchful governments, across the curious planet awakening to the reality of life beyond its atmosphere, a new possibility took root, one that had begun with a single human woman, and a luminescent alien who had chosen love over the comfortable familiarity of separation. The journey had only just begun.